The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this morning's Toolbox Talk. My name is Sean Frey, guys, and I'll be here in the background organizing this session. Guys, it is only a half an hour session, so I am going to keep this short. At any point, guys, in the webinar, just go ahead and pop a question into the questions tab. They come through to me. Do not worry, you will not disturb Chris. And then at the end of the webinar, I will give them over to him. Now, guys, this morning we do only have 30 minutes. Chris does, unfortunately, have a family emergency that he has to leave at 4:30. So will try and answer as many questions before that as we can. But guys, other than that, if we do not get to your question this morning, we will answer it via email. But other than that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Chris. Chris, are you there?
Yes, thank you very much, Sean, and a very big welcome to all our attendees this morning. I really do wish I had until 4:30 this afternoon, but unfortunately I will have to be out here by 7:30. But thank you very much to all of you who have joined once again this morning. We always look forward to our Toolbox Talks every week. And again, thank you to FEM as well as IOPSA, the Institute of Plumbing South Africa, for sponsoring these Toolbox Talks every Tuesday morning. We would also like to say, again, a very big thank you to Sayosh for accrediting this course with 1 CPD point. Sean, I hear your mic there in the back.
I do apologize. Enjoy the session.
Thanks very much. And then again, it is proudly presented by myself, Chris from OHSS Consulting. Just before we get into this, I just want to say thank you very much. We have had an overwhelming amount of emails coming through. Since I am the only one replying to these emails, I do thank you once again for your patience in getting back to you guys. As Sean did mention, I am having a bit of an emergency this past week with my grandfather being in hospital, but we will get back to you. I promise that whether it be now or in the next couple of weeks, I will definitely answer those questions that have come through. Many of them I have sent through to a little bit more people who are professional than I am. They do understand a little bit more about fire, especially on the PPE side. And then also those mental health disorders that we are speaking to. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, so I had to get some better advice from my home doctor to really give me a little bit more detail, and that I'll be sending through to you guys as soon as possible. But if there is any information, any questions that you have, please, you've got my email address, send it through. For many of you who are asking for the copies, just all the slides of these presentations, I really don't mind sharing, and I will continue to send these out to you. So let's get right into this morning's Toolbox Talk. And for this week, we are looking at the topic of horseplay. Now, what is horseplay? Well, it's fooling around. It's dangerous because when we are on the job and we are fooling around, we are not really concentrating on our work. And there's many causes to this. Sadly, though, there's not enough statistics out there specifically for South Africa for us to understand how dangerous horseplay really is. But just to give you a bit of a background, horseplay is anything that has the potential to cause harm or injury to someone by basically creating an unsafe act or even possibly an unsafe condition. And that is why horseplay is not permitted in most companies. In fact, every single company that I've had the opportunity to work with has had a policy or a procedure regarding horseplay. Now, horseplay, as many of you know, really has the potential for great danger or severe injury to many people. But many do not really understand why we have policies and procedures on horseplay, because it's fun to play around. And many of us are still enjoying having a good game, whether it be sports or recreation that we play. And oftentimes we can do it safely. But does that mean that there is a place for this type of activity in the working environment? Well, let's go through this Toolbox Talk this morning, and then you as employers as well as employees will get to decide for yourself what you think is best. The absence of horseplay in the workplace, and as that slogan at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen says, no horseplay, or do you feel that it is still safe to do so? So let's go through the information, and then we'd like you to make the decision for yourself. But it should be based on just a few facts. First of all, let us get the definition of what horseplay actually is. Now, horseplay is rough or rowdy play or pranks that occur in the workplace. And this comes from a division of safety and compliance. It involves joking that includes physical contact. So these could be people bumping, punching, or hitting each other, playing around, racing, grabbing things, foolish vehicle operation, social pressure to participate in unsafe acts, and harassment and unauthorized contests. So this is the definition of horseplay. Again, you can ask yourself, do we say no to horseplay, or do we still feel that it's okay? Well, again, let us take a look at what is the harm of horseplay. On-the-job horseplay should not be viewed just as harmless fun. Why is this? Well, it's because it has the potential for serious injuries at work, as we mentioned earlier. And we will take a look at some of these serious injuries. In fact, case studies of what happened because of horseplay. It also has the ability to divide the workplace, and we'll figure out what that really is as well. And then obviously it prevents an employee from getting their job done. Now, oftentimes, the person that is doing the horseplay, or the person who is initiating the horseplay, often they have already finished their work, or perhaps they're not too busy and they start playing around or fooling around. The issue is it's others that are affected, and these are the ones that prevent them from getting their jobs done. And we don't understand it when we ourselves are playing around because we've completed our work. But then others are affected by our acts or omissions to do certain acts. So in some countries, as it mentions, horseplay-related incidents have resulted in injuries. And when these injuries have occurred, it has led to criminal prosecutions. In fact, some courts have determined that these incidents are deliberate acts. So here we can, first of all, understand how dangerous it is, not just from our own viewpoint, thinking about our own working environment, but from actual legislation, from a court case where somebody has died because of a horseplay activity, and then it was determined that it was a deliberate act because that person had the knowledge and understanding that it was dangerous. So even if horseplay does not result in injury, practical jokes or misbehaving around the workplace can still lead to humiliation, embarrassment, anger, hurt feelings, distrust, or even a desire for revenge among co-workers. And this is, as we mentioned just there in the first paragraph, it divides the workplace. How many of us have colleagues that we work with that are good friends? Now, would we want to humiliate them? Would we want somebody else to humiliate us or perhaps embarrass us? Well, this is not something a friend would want to do. Neither would we want to do this to our colleagues. But also as managers, we also do not want to do this to our staff members. We do not want to get them angry, give them hurt feelings, or have distrust in the working environment, because this desire for revenge could spark additional horseplay, fooling around that could really result in fatal injuries, as we will see a little later on. So, do you agree from the definition of horseplay that there is a potential for severe injury, division in the workplace, as well as the prevention of activities of work in the working environment? If you are agreeing that workplace horseplay is dangerous, then why do we allow it? Because we have the ability to say no to horseplay, but it is still continually being allowed within our working environment. And this is because many times horseplay incidents do not result in injury, but there is the potential harm for it. Now, horseplay should be viewed as an unsafe act, the same as illegally driving operations on any site, such as forklifts, cranes, or any type of plant or tools or equipment, or not using the correct safety equipment, or removing guards railings or things in place to prevent people from falling or cutting themselves. These should all be viewed in the same light. The reason for that is because it has the potential to cause harm. And if horseplay falls in that same category, then we should view it the same way. So let's take a look. Does horseplay really have the ability to create serious injuries? Well, let's take a look at a case study. At approximately 1 o'clock on February the 22nd, 2014, employee number 1 was working as a porter in a car dealership. So he was the person that would drive the customer's car from the check-in side all the way down to the staging area where it would be serviced by the technicians, and then drive it back when the customer was ready to be picked up. So he was moving to and forward, obviously standing around, waiting for clients to come in, and as it started getting a little bit quiet, as it mentions there, the employee number 1 and as well as his co-worker were standing around in the service bay during a slow time. And they were engaging in a little bit of horseplay. And this included arm wrestling. Now we might think, well, 2 men arm wrestling, is it really that dangerous? All that's going to happen is the first one might beat the other and show that he's a little bit stronger. But let's take a look at actually what happened. While the employees were arm wrestling, the employee number 1 fractured or dislocated his left elbow. He initially reported to the employer that he had fallen in the bathroom. So immediately it turned him into a liar. He now deceived his employer by stating the incorrect facts. He was then transported to hospital with a fractured left elbow, where he was treated and hospitalized for 2 days. Now, what about when this actually came out later that they were conducting horseplay, or they were engaged in this fooling around? Well, do you think that employee was paid for his time off? Well, we don't know. We don't have all those facts. But what type of scenario does this incident really bring about in that dealership at the moment? The distrust between the employee and the employer. Perhaps bad vibes between employee number 1 and his co-worker, as well as the injury that he had to face and being hospitalized for 2 days. That doesn't tell us how long he was off work for, but obviously production suffered, and really overall this seemingly insignificant horseplay or fooling around and just arm wrestling had caused injury, and it had caused time delay. So again, I'd like to ask you, do you think that horseplay has the ability to create serious injuries? Well, this is just a fractured or dislocated left elbow. It's bad, but it's not really that bad. Would you say it's not really going to stop me from playing around? Well, let's give you another case study. And this happened a little bit earlier on. This was in October of 2007. There were 2 employees who were installing trimming on a residential building under construction. And during a break, and the incident investigator determined that it was possibly because of a dare or a wager between these 2 employees, that they attempted to swim across a retention pond at the work site. Now, this pond was approximately 3.6 meters deep in the middle, approximately 70 meters wide, and approximately 177 meters long. Employee number 1, who started to swim across, began to struggle when he was about halfway across the pond. Employee number 2 swam out to rescue him, and both men drowned. Both of them died. Now, the employer did not have a comprehensive safety and health program, but he did have a few written rules. One of these rules stated that playing on the job had to stop. In other words, something had happened before. Playing around had occurred before. And when it occurred before, nobody was injured. So he had determined to actually have 10 safety rules written up to state certain things that must not or must be done on his site. One of which was that horseplay was not allowed. Did the employees listen? Well, no. They decided to take the dare and they decided to swim across this pond, and they died because of it. Now, is this a serious injury? Well, certainly it is. 2 people dying because of horseplay. Yes, it is different to a dislocated elbow, but it shows the severity of a workplace injury that can happen during horseplay. And that is because there is no place for horseplay. Whether it is in a construction site, whether it's at an office, or even in a small building between friends, it has the potential for serious injuries. Now, before we start an act, before we start horseplay, do we receive a letter, a mail, a text message, or even a Facebook pop to tell us this is what could happen after we start horseplay? It's only going to be a minimum injury, or it could be serious. No, we do not know what the outcome of that horseplay activity is going to be. That is the reason why all horseplay is not allowed. It has the potential for dislocation or fracturing of bones, but it also has the ability to kill people. So it really is time for us to take seriously some of the written rules in the working environment for us, especially as employees, because many of us do not want to divide the workplace. Now take a look at this third case study. An employee, as well as a foreman with 32 years of service, was terminated after taking a lighter and lighting a co-worker's safety vest. The vest ignited, another co-worker became involved and tried to put the fire out with his hands, and he suffered burns and blisters. Nobody died, but there was serious injury involved. Do you think that these 3 people who were involved in this horseplay still speak nicely to each other? Do you think they still enjoy each other's company at get-togethers or working environments? Well, that hopefully they regain their friendship, but for a time their friendship would have been strained. And that is because someone took advantage of a situation and could have potentially caused severe injury to the first worker lighting his safety vest, and the second worker who became involved obviously was injured to the degree of suffering burns and blisters on his hands, many of which would scar him for the rest of his life. Do we really want to take that chance by engaging or initiating horseplay in the workplace by not thinking of the consequences that could arise? Well, we ask ourselves then, what are the causes of people engaging in horseplay? Well, for many of us, as you see in the bottom right corner, it is just absolute boredom. We perhaps have finished our work, or we're just bored with our work, or there's time left over, and we do not know what to do with that time. Well, maturity comes with experience, not age. You would have heard sometimes people say, men don't grow up, we just learn how to act in public. Well, sometimes that is true, because what is a mature person? Well, let us ask you, do you think it takes maturity to not engage in horseplay when other colleagues are engaging in it? Well, certainly it does, because maturity will give us the forethought. In other words, we will look at the consequences of what could potentially happen if we engage in that. Whether we are bored, whether we take for granted things that people deserve, such as being in a safe environment. One thing we must always ask ourselves is, am I willing to allow it to cause serious injury or harm to myself or to others around me just for a few minutes of fun? Again, is there a place in the working environment for horseplay? Well, I'm sure you have the answer for yourself. So what then is the solution? Well, Employers, managers, those who are listening in that have the ability of, or the responsibility, if I can put it that way, of supervising or managing staff, please take this very seriously. For starters, make it known that workers are responsible for each other's safety. And this is in accordance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act. In fact, go and get yourself a copy, download a copy, take a look at Section 14 of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, where it clearly states that every single employee is responsible for their own health and safety, as well as the health and safety of those working in the same environment. Thus, all of us are responsible for each other's health and safety. Engaging in horseplay that creates unsafe acts or unsafe conditions will remove that safe environment, and thus we become responsible as a direct cause of incidents and accidents. So we should make it very clear to employees as well as employers that they are to refrain from engaging in unsafe behaviors on the job. We must follow all workplace rules and regulations, and we must ensure that safety equipment is used correctly. So supervisors, managers, you have a responsibility to keep your employees' working environment safe and free of harassment by monitoring for horseplay as well as preventing horseplay in the workplace. And there you can see 3 causes of accidents. Many times they say, well, I didn't see it happen, or I didn't see them engaging in horseplay. Well, what does the term supervisor mean? Someone who oversees. In other words, you cannot say that I did not see. We also cannot say that I did not think about it, because the safety rules and regulations are there for all of us. As well as I did not know. Again, we are reminded on a weekly basis, even at these toolbox talks, at your own toolbox talks, risk assessments, method statements, or even your daily safe task instructions, that the health and safety rules are there to protect ourselves as those who work with us. So again, what is the solution? We need to take responsibility for our health and safety. Take your job, your responsibilities, as well as safety seriously. You are responsible for performing your job correctly, which includes the safety. Safety rules and procedures are designed to protect you. If those 2 men who swam across the pond did not engage in horseplay, they may still be alive today. So everyone must follow safety rules. Failure to follow these rules are dangerous for yourself as well as for others. Horseplay and other safety rule violations can lead to disciplinary action, and none of us want to lose our jobs because we were playing or fooling around. Don't indulge in horseplay or accuse those who won't go along with horseplay of not having a sense of humor. There is no place for horseplay. Think how bad it would be if your horseplay injured or killed someone else, or perhaps even made them sick seriously. Do not allow others to engage you in horseplay. So let's recap. Horseplay and fooling around are the opposites of safe, responsible work. According to the dictionary, horseplay means rough fun. Fooling around means doing foolish or useless things. And a fool is a person with little or no judgment or common sense. Again, I'd like to ask you, do you feel that horseplay has a place in our working environment? Or would you agree with the majority of us that it has no place in the working environment? Horseplay rules ban horseplay because it is dangerous. When we fool around, we're not concentrating on our work. It may have a direct impact, and serious injury could happen to those around us. Giving less than full concentration or attention to safe work procedures makes you less likely to notice or account for hazards until it is too late. Most accidents are caused by unsafe acts, and horseplay is an unsafe act. So again, horseplay creates unnecessary risks, and you can prevent most workplace incidents by being alert to hazards as well as following safety rules. So just say no to horseplay on the job. Don't run, don't bully, don't chase, push, don't goof off, and don't have any practical jokes. Remember to respect the health and safety rules, because this shows respect not only for your own life, but as well as for the lives of those around you. So do you know what your policies or procedures are in terms of horseplay at the workplace? Do you have these policies and procedures in place as employers? Well, for any of us sitting in this toolbox talk once again, we might ask ourselves, what is our goal toward health and safety? Have we minimized the risk or the possibility of injuries or accidents as a result of bad employment, or perhaps even bad execution of safety? Again, that is left up to you as managers and supervisors. But ultimately, as employees, we are responsible for not engaging in unsafe acts. Things such as falling from a height has a tremendous impact on those below us. Fooling around with PPE can damage not only the PPE, but expose us to hazardous substances or other dangers. Climbing under or on a forklift or a moving crane can potentially cause crushing. Running with a handheld running with a hand truck could spill the load or even run over somebody's feet. Pushing or teasing or otherwise distracting people could cause injury. All of these things fall within horseplay or unsafe acts. So you have a question to ask yourself. Would you agree that horseplay has no place? Well, there's two things you can do. You can take the chance. You can try and engage in horseplay and hopefully not be injured. Or you can make the change and ensure that you are effectively mitigating risks, looking out for ways to create a safe working environment. That will not only gain you the respect of others in the workplace, but it will also keep you safe for your families. So again, are you going to take the chance, or will you make the change? Safety guidelines are there for accident prevention. Everyone is responsible for it. Make sure you adhere to those guidelines and always pay attention to your safety for the workplace. And let us not engage in horseplay. A great man said that what counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life that we lead. So ask yourself, what is the impact that you are having not only on yourself, but on others in the workplace? And what is your motivation to really become someone who is respected in the company as someone who looks out for others? So, as always, we have a Did You Know section of our Toolbox Talks, and this is a quick Did You Know how to operate a fire extinguisher. Very easily, we just want to use the PASS method. The pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. What does that mean? Well, grabbing any type of fire extinguisher, as you see here, the blue label will be your dry chemical powder. You pull the pin, you aim the nozzle at the base of the fire, you squeeze the handle, and sweep the nozzle from side to side. Please remember to know what types of fire extinguishers you are working with in your working environment and use the correct type of fire extinguisher for the correct type of fire. If you'd like to know more, why not go on a basic firefighting course or give us a call and we can maybe assist you with understanding how to use fire extinguishers in your working environment. So again, a very big thank you to everyone for joining us this morning for these Toolbox Talks. Thank you to Sean as well in the back end for assisting us with piloting these episodes. And again to FEM, IOPSA, as well as SAOSH for their wonderful participation in these. We look forward to seeing you next time. And the next topic that we will be discussing is inclement weather, especially coming up to our rainy season. Thank you very much, Sean.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. Guys, it has just gone past. We do have a couple of questions, but unfortunately, we do not have time to answer them this morning. I will be sending them through to Chris. And Chris, you said within the next couple of weeks you will get to those, correct?
Definitely.
All right, perfect. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end off the session. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I hope to see everyone same time next week. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye-bye.